Okay, good evening, everybody, and welcome to the regular meeting of the Clay Township Board. Tonight's date is Tuesday, May 27th, and we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Mary, if you would lead us, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. First order of business is an approval of minutes from our April 22nd, 2014 board meeting. Do I hear a motion?
I so move.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Public comments. Do we have anybody from the public who'd like to speak tonight? All right, moving on. Action items. Our first action item is a resolution number 2014-05-27-01, which is landscaping for College Avenue and 106th Street. Doug, you want to start before we have a motion?
Yeah, for several years now, it's been going on that the intersection at 106th and College, they put that those mediums down there on 106th, 2 on College. And for the last several years, it goes back to when Judy, I think it was built during Judy's administration. And Kevin Hughes takes care of that. He sweeps up all the sand at the intersection. He puts these trees up that keeps getting knocked down from the winter and the snow and everything. He plants flowers, he plants bushes and everything. And he does this with his own money from his business. And so we started talking one day, and I thought, you know, Carmel builds all these roundabouts. Why can't I ask the board, as long as you guys approve it, and I put a maximum of $5,000 a year. Because what I did is I said, Kevin Hughes, which is the owner of Rosie's, I said, give me a price on what it actually costs you to take care of this. And it's not right for him to be doing that. And so he gave me kind of a breakdown, and it runs about $1,300 to $1,400 a quarter. So that's about $6,000, a little under $6,000. So I thought maybe what I do is put a resolution together and see if we could provide up to $5,000 annually. Doesn't mean we'll spend that much, but you know, some of these trees that he plants in there and the bushes and stuff, and maintains that. You know, I don't think he should have to do all this, and he's done it for several years. And really, he hasn't complained about it a lot. We've talked about it. I said, well, one of these days, and I've been saying that for years, one of these days I'm going to talk to the board and see if they'd be willing to put some money into this. So I had Tom review the resolution. It's a home rule act that we can do it for that reason. So if you guys will approve it, if you don't like the amount of $5,000, that's fine too. But I just would like to give him something to maintain those, because they are right now in sad shape if you come out of that way. And so I just feel that we need to do something.
Let's have a motion and then some discussion. Do I hear a motion for approval?
I so move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion. Mary?
Who usually, if he doesn't do it, is it the county?
The county, when the county did this, they did they maintained the curbs and everything. Okay, so if there's something that's damaged down there from that standpoint, but they don't have the money to be forking out for the landscaping part of it. You know, the mulch, the little trees, the flowers, the bushes, and whatever. Kevin has always done that. He has always done it, and he's never said a word about it. You know, and we were talking one day, and I was asking about it. I said, well, what's this thing called? Maybe I'll take it to the board and see what they say. So he gave me a sheet of $1,300, $1,400, you know, a quarter on what he spends down there. Because they even sweep up the sand from the winter. I mean, they really take care of the intersection. So, you know, I just think that, you know, it wouldn't hurt if we could help him out, you know, because he's trying to help the community out to take care of this down here. I just don't have a problem. And then plus they knocked that building down, which is really a big asset from my standpoint. I mean, he didn't, but the owners did. And you know, some people down here are trying to take pride in their property and stuff. I mean, you see a lot of improvements down here. You know, considering that they spend a lot, and you know, the lawn mowing part of it is a totally different story. But I'm just asking that if you guys would consider, even if you don't like the 5,000, would you consider less or whatever?
Well, I think 5,000 is probably grossly underpriced for what it takes to really maintain the intersection. And I have no problem, and I'm happy that it's a company that not only is in Clay Township, but it's in our unincorporated area as well. I think that's good stewardship by our part. The other, and I have no problem with this. The other option, though, if he wanted to do something like that, I'm sure he's writing this off, but if he wanted to do something like the, adopt a median type deal where he could put some advertising in it, I mean, that would be an avenue as well. But if he wants the money, I've got no problem with that.
I agree. It's a good idea, and he's a good citizen.
Very good. He does a lot for this community down here.
Absolutely.
Is there a chance that we could see a diagram of what he wants to do? That wouldn't hold the vote up, but,
I can bring it to you, sure. I can put it in your packets
I think
next
if
time
we have
around
the money
to
there, it
show
would be nice
what
to
he
s-
plants and everything.
Absolutely.
Sure, we can do that. We can do that. I'm sure he'd be happy to do that. Matter of fact, if I'm not mistaken, I think he did it several years ago of what he was planning there. Okay?
I just think, does it come up every year? Is he going to put it in so that it does? What else does he want to do? Is
Well, I
there a
think-
gradual plan?
You know what I think happened this year is, as we all know, our winter was horrible. And those areas took a beating. I think, as a matter of fact, there's probably only, one or two trees up? I mean, with the snow and the cold and everything, they just took a real beating. And I just think it needs to take it. But we can do that. I'll have him put together
I think
a
it'd be
layout of what
interesting.
he's planning
Right.
to share with you, and I'll put it in your packets for the June meeting.
Okay.
All righty?
Excellent. Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Next action item is an adoption of the 2015 holiday schedule. Doug?
As we do every year, for the following year, it's the holidays for 2015. Usually we do this in the middle of the year. And we just follow Hamilton County's schedule. If you notice, you got Christine Altman Dillinger and that hair branch. And they approved it. So I just kind of do whatever they do is fine with us because, with the assessor and us, we work with him a lot from time to time. And so I figure if they're closed, then we can be closed at the same time. Just easy, real easy.
Okay, let's have a motion and then some discussion.
So
I
moved.
move. Whoop,
So moved.
Second?
second.
Discussion? Hearing none?
Sorry.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Next action item, Doug, is the adoption of the Township Assistance Guidelines.
Okay, what you should have in your packets, two paper clip packets themselves. The first one talks about, I think it's got your signatures on the very first. It's the signature page, or you would have the office hours, what our office. Okay, that packet is what you're going to basically be approving, and we should do it every few years from time to time. But what you have in this packet is when somebody comes in for township assistance, this is what we go through. This is everything from the time they make that phone call to us to the time that we either approve it or they go through the appeal process. But it's step by step. It's set out in when they come in here, everything they have to sign. So that's what we're approving is this. Mainly, and the county also, if you look at the 2014 poverty guidelines, the page with the different colors on it. The poverty, for 2014, you got the federal poverty guidelines. However, the trustees in this county voted to increase it to 120%. So it was 11,670 this year for one person, and then we had to go to 1404. Every year, we have to get the county commissioners to sign off on this. So they sign off on this. They do not sign off on the rest of this packet, okay, which is basically governed by you folks, okay? And so I just think, since we just got finished with our audit, I thought, we probably, and they didn't even ask for it this time, but normally they should, or they do ask for it. But I'm just going to start doing this like once a year, is just get your guys' signature. So, it's a lot of, if you decide to go to bed early and you want to read something, put you to sleep, you can use that. And then this is just basically state statute. It's just something that if you guys ever have a question about what we do or well, can we do that? Well, it's a state statute on shelters, on diabetics, on you name it, and it's in here. And so I decided I was only going to give you this. I thought, well, no, maybe it'd be nice if they had the copy that we deal with from the state standpoint. That way, if you get bored and you want to read something, you'll fall asleep even quicker.
I must have been bored this week. I went through it and
Did
read
you?
it. Yeah.
Let's have a motion for approval, then discussion.
I make a motion to approve the guidelines.
Second.
Okay, discussion. Any discussion?
Doug, you said it went up 120%.
It went from 100 to 120.
Did you know that when we did our budget allocation?
Yeah. Actually, last year is when the county approved it, okay? And so anytime we increase that, we have to get the county's approval to do something like that. Okay?
Any other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Final action item is Carmel Clay Public Library Board appointment, a 4-year term. And is this Wendy?
Yes, this is Wendy.
Wendy Phillips?
I think Mr. Prutheron is with you.
Yes, he is.
Okay.
So, Roger, you wanted to come up too? I'm Wendy Phillips, Director of the Carmel Clay Public Library. Greetings and congratulations on the election to all of you.
Thank you.
This is Ranjit Puthran, and we were here before you 2 years ago. Ranjit was appointed by you then to complete a term. Our then appointee had to resign because he works out of state. So Ranjit has completed that partial term and is here before you for appointment to a second term, which would be a full 4-year term. And
Excellent.
Ranjit serves as our treasurer, and he can actually speak for himself, too. Would you like
Okay. Welcome, Rajat.
Well, thank you. I'm just looking forward to serving another 4-year term, or 2-year term. I did that 4-year now, but I did the 2 years, so looking forward to that.
Good, excellent. Let's have a motion for approval.
I so move.
Second.
Any discussion?
No, I
He's done a
called,
great
I called
job.
3 of your fellow board members to vet you a little bit, and every one of them had just extraordinary things to say about you, so thank you.
Okay, well, let's have a motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? No, nobody opposed, so congratulations, Rajat. Motion carries. Thank you very much, Wendy. Good to see you.
Good to see you, too.
We will move on to information items.
Talk about that.
We're going to have a brief discussion of the fire construction project and an update. Doug?
Let me first apologize for missing the last meeting. I was a little under the weather. And let me tell you what I'm going to do, since we are having monthly meetings anymore, that's always going to be on there. So if anything we need to talk about, I think it rings the bell for people that, hey, we need to talk about this. Tonight, Mr. Bosma was supposed to be here to discuss the pros and cons of the build, or design, bid, and build. He was unable to make it. However, I think, Mr. President, we talked about going ahead and waiting until the end of June. But we really need to move on this as soon as we can. I know that Mr. Snyder and Mr. Bosma had a disagreement on which way we should go. I will tell you from my standpoint, I can go either way. I have no preference from that standpoint, okay? So I just want to keep moving with this, and we're going to have to, unless you guys decide to move on this, wait until the end of June for Mr. Bosma or Mr. DeRue come back with the pros and cons, so we can get moving with this, okay?
And yes, and Doug did call me last week, and he asked that we consider delaying any vote on this decision until Brian can attend in our June meeting, which I'm fine with, and I've talked to Matt a little bit about it as well. Obviously, Mr. Bosman feels pretty passionate about one option as Matt does about the other. So I think we do need to have that conversation in June. I don't believe this is going to screw us up time-wise. If we can come to an agreement either then or shortly thereafter, we can begin the process and hopefully be in a position to start moving and turning earth next spring, which I believe would be a schedule that would work.
That'd be a very aggressive schedule, but it's one, if we pounce, I think we can get done.
Okay, and let me explain something too, is I've got Dr. Wall from the school and Roger McMichael coming to my office on June 3rd. The 3D layout and the plans we have, Matt, that you brought in, I'm going to show him that.
Okay.
We had met, the mayor and I had met with him, and he asked if we had anything put together, and since you brought that in, I thought, this is a perfect, I mean, and it's a good-looking building with
It is.
good landscaping. This was done several years ago,
2006.
and, if we could save some money by using this, I have no problem with it. But anyway, he's going to come in because we're still trying to get some land across from the old 44s out there at the school administration, because we really would like to build it there.
Is it, we really would be, just so that we don't have a down station? Is that the driving force?
That would be, yeah, the main reason, yes.
I would say, I frankly don't care whether it's where it is or if it goes across the street. I think we're going to get into some more expense with utilities across the street, but nothing that can't be tackled. But it is in a kind of a detention basin, and that water's going to have, the hydraulics of that water's going to have to go somewhere.
And this is, somebody brought this up to me also, if you go to behind that retention pond and go south to the bus garage, there is an area there that's possible.
Okay. I don't know what the
I didn't
limits
think it was
are.
that big, though. I didn't think, maybe it is. But but when you look at the plans on this station, I'm telling you, it's good looking. It's good looking, and I don't know why anybody would be upset, we're only moving the station across the street.
The only reason, obviously, would be because it now is going to be on school property, but, I'm encouraged to hear that they're at least still considering it. I think that we've had a pretty good relationship with the school system over the years, and I think we did them a hell of a favor here a year and a half ago.
Absolutely.
At the same time, there may be some very compelling reasons why it may not work out, but at least they're still talking. So I think, Tom, just let Brian know that we hope that he makes our next meeting.
Well, and I will note, actually, Doug, if you recall, he cannot be at the June scheduled meeting, but if there's a chance to maybe do a special meeting between then or some other
Well,
arrangements.
definitely.
Yeah, we need to hear from
A
him.
decision needs to be
right.
made
Right.
at the
Right.
June meeting.
So, yeah.
So if we need to do a different date, Doug, to accommodate Brian, I'm certainly willing to do that.
Oh, I never thought about that, but we could do that.
Right.
We could do that.
I had a talk with the chief about this. He said sooner rather than
Yeah,
later.
Exactly.
So we've got to get on it.
I'm trying to think, because next month is grant month too, so I need to get those letters out next week to all the grant people. So if we're going to change it, then Tom, I need to know when he can be here.
I will get with you tomorrow with scheduling.
Yeah, because, otherwise, you guys need to make a decision and just go.
Why can't it be written by Brian and then sent to us to look at ahead of time rather than just seeing it the day? You know how I hate
I
that
think
when
he's
it's.
adamant about his decision.
Well,
Just like
he's not on the
adamant
board.
about his.
He's
It's
our
not his
attorney, he should be
decision.
reactionary, and he's not the decision maker.
That's what I'm saying.
Well, but we need to hear what he has to say.
I know it, but exactly to Matt's point, this has to be a dialogue, and he has to listen to us. We're very willing to hear Brian's opinion, but in the end, regardless of what he has to say, it is our decision. And frankly, Matt has enormous experience it's what he does for a living, and his input is every bit as valuable, if not more, than Brian Bosma's.
Well, that's why I suggested that he send us his comments first, so
Ahead of
that we
time.
can look at them.
Yeah,
And
that
not
would
only
be-
that, get more information about what he's sending us.
Absolutely, and that would be valuable, Tom, if perhaps
Absolutely.
Brian could send us ahead of time an outline of what he wants to talk about, and that we, at least, me, being a layman, clearly, would help me get up to
Sure,
speed.
absolutely. I'll get with him tomorrow on that.
Okay.
And I have done some research since our last meeting, and I've spoken with 2 chiefs and 1 assistant chief that have done a design build on their stations. Georgetown, Texas, College Station, Colorado, and Omaha, Nebraska. All were about the same size of what we're doing. All said they wouldn't do it any other way. In this area, design build processes that would be like in Nosal Schools just did one a couple years ago, and St. Vincent's has also done that all in the last couple of years. And I want to kind of reiterate why I'm kind of pushing the design build. Number one, you don't go over budget. There's been in the last 5 years, there's been 10,000 projects listed on the Design Build Institute of America website. Not one has gone over budget. We advertise how much we want to spend. They have to meet what we advertise. And they put a team together of construction management, designers, surveyors, everybody they need. And it also gets us out of this low bid process, because low bid is always the most expensive way. And it's been on every project I've ever run, because it comes change order after change order after change order. And if we don't hire an owner's rep, or if Doug doesn't stand out there 10 hours a day watching them build it, we don't know whether or not it's a legitimate change order or not. And this way we can, teams, engineering, construction managers can put their teams together. They can put it in front of us. It should take them no more than 2 weeks. From when we make a decision, we can write the RFP, put it out for the public. They can have a couple weeks to put their teams together, and we can review all the teams. And there won't be that many, because we'll qualify it with they must have had fire station experience, they must have the capacity, they must be able to meet an aggressive schedule, and we can use the plans we currently have as bridging documents. The only thing we don't have, and sorry, I'm going to jump off for a second. I don't care where it goes, the Station 4 goes. Station 3 can be built on the same site with the plans we've got. But the other conversation we need to be having is maintenance garage at 106th and Gray. I think that's a land we need to secure. The only concern I'd have about moving Station 4 across the street is, even if the school starts to entertain it, I don't want it sitting for 4 or 5 months while they're entertaining it. They either need to say, okay, we can make this happen, it's
Right.
going to the school board next meeting, or we'll pass and we'll rebuild it.
And he said if we have to double up, we'll double up in order to get it done. In
And
other
that might
words,
be
the
the-
men would have another station if they go
They
to.
would, and
Right.
when talking to Matt, he said, maybe if we could even just get a garage from the school to run our trucks out of. And we can even put in the RFP, the construction management team's also going to be responsible for providing trailers and power to trailers for the firemen to operate out of during the 6 months of construction or whatever.
Well, I know when we had talked about it, when I was there about 8 years ago, 9 years ago, we talked about this. What we had planned on doing was putting a lean-to next to the bus garage and putting a trailer out there, taking the ambulance out of that station and just run the 4 guys on the engine itself and go that route. And if we could start on, like, say, next spring, then you could put that up pretty quickly, I would think.
Well,
So-
I had an idea for Station 3. Maybe we could rent the clubhouse, the neighborhood clubhouse there, for them to run their...
Matt, I've thought about that, and there is enough land behind Threes that we could probably build that station where they came out on Lakeshore Drive West,
Yeah?
and they could just, once they get that building up, you just walk out the old building into the new building
Tear it down?
and tear it down. Yeah, I mean, I think you got plenty of room there for that.
And the only homeowners we'd have to worry about would be Paul Pencil, right? And then the school is the next adjoining
Right.
Yeah, right,
property.
that's
So it
right.
wouldn't be affecting anybody.
Matter of fact, I tried to,
Paul owns some of the land behind the parking lot at the fire station.
And certainly,
Right.
he wouldn't be opposed to maybe allowing some land just for use for staging materials
Yeah,
during
right.
construction.
That's right.
Okay.
Well, we need to sit down.
But the other conversation I'd like to move on is with Martin Marietta, because if we do this all as one project, I mean, these are three big projects, and that Martin Marietta land not only would be needed to build what we want, but also they probably use it as a construction yard, so they could buy their materials in bulk and not for each individual.
Right.
Would you contact them? I guess that would be the mayor that you two could begin conversation with, or some other representative from the city?
For Martin Marietta?
Yes.
Why don't
Probably
we-
not the mayor.
Yeah,
Not the
they don't
mayor.
want, I have been told.
Well, that's a good point.
They will not deal with the mayor. How about Jack Berry? Can we start with him
Yeah, yeah.
and see who he recommends calling?
Yeah,
Or John Schuler?
Yes.
Is he in Florida?
Jack
Yeah,
Berry
pretty
is a
much,
good start.
yeah.
And I don't mind making the phone call, but I don't want to,
But I think we also ought to have a conversation with Paul about the land as we're speaking about it, so he isn't blindsided.
Oh, sure.
If we just say, this is what we want.
we don't want to rely on
Right,
his
that
good
isn't
nature.
fair.
We've got some time, but you're right.
So can we at least agree tonight that we will make a decision in June on at least how we're going to proceed, and then we can put the RFP out within the couple weeks following our decision?
Yeah, and I'll do my darndest to make it to where Brian can be here by moving it to like maybe the third week. Will he be here the third week, do you know?
I don't know offhand.
Well, Tom is a perfectly competent attorney.
That's what I think too, but.
I mean, frankly, you're here for every meeting. You're familiar with what we talk about and what we do. I'd feel more comfortable if you just handled this.
Sure, yeah, I mean, I'll tell you, Matt, I don't have the particular points on the design build that I think Brian wants to address.
I understand.
to you all. So that, I mean, that's,
He
but
needs,
yeah, I mean, I can certainly.
he needs to
do
meet
the
with us in
remainder.
June.
Absolutely.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Whenever he's available, let us know so we can put it on our schedule.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And I'll do that tomorrow. I'll make sure that we get with the understanding the urgency of all this, so.
Okay, very good. Any other discussion on the
No.
fire construction?
Yeah,
project?
Andrew, you know what, I'm looking for Angie. I'm looking for Angie, and I forgot, Andrew is from Crow Horwath, too. Did you need to add anything to this discussion? It's, because I want to tell you something, there's been a discussion, and I asked the question, because I asked Carl Mills about, instead of going with a bond, is worth going with borrowing the funds from Fifth Third or from one of the banks. I think Manji mentioned Huntington or whatever, but see if they would be willing to go 15, 20 years out. And we gave Carl some information. Now, you don't normally go in there, and government agencies normally don't go in there and ask to a loan for something like that, but the loan is not that large either. I mean, we're talking about, what, $6 million?
Well, Doug, I think, no, I don't disagree with that option. I think we should listen to it, and we've been on the cutting edge of a lot of things as a township. That's why we have money, that's why we've been sustainable, and if that's an option that's feasible, we should entertain it.
So with the loan option, Angie, when we talked earlier today, it's definitely an option that we can pursue some banks and see if it's something that they would be interested in working with the township to do. The only thing is typically, in our experiences, for a bank to take a loan and essentially hold it in-house, they typically only want something that's going to mature within 10 years. And so they just don't want to hold something internally for 20, 25 years, which we can get if we were to issue the bonds on the open market.
What's the payment schedule in 10 years for $6 million?
I do not know that off the top of my head, but it is going to increase, it probably would increase the tax rate slightly.
No.
I mean, we can get back to an answer, and say on just 10 years debt service, how much of a project fund we would get, but I don't have that number in front of me right now.
That'd be interesting to know.
It would.
Yeah, sure.
How about a private bank, like Bank of Indianapolis, where we have friends?
I mean, we've worked with private banks, regional banks, national banks, typically, to take a loan and hold it internally. It's all been, generally speaking, 10 years or less. 15 years is pushing it.
Now, that's, Carl mentioned 15
I
years.
was going to say,
Carl mentioned 15 years.
right.
I mean,
Yeah.
it is something that we can reach out to some different banks, and if there's any banks that, the board or Doug has in particular, that they would like us to reach out to, we can.
Carl had some specific ideas
As a matter of
that he
fact-
wanted to talk to us
As
about.
a matter of fact, we gave him some information, some
twice.
financial information, Deb, last week. He wanted some information, financial information, and Carl, you know Carl?
I think we've met a couple times.
And he was going to look into that. Only thing they were waiting for was our audit? Yes. Okay, our audit, which was just done, so we should be getting that back here shortly, too.
Okay, well, it'll be helpful to get some sort of preliminary information back from him, just to get an idea of whether or not a private bank would entertain the idea of,
Why don't I have
doing
Carl contact
Sure.
you and Angie?
Angie, right, yeah.
Okay?
Sure.
And I'll get a hold of him tomorrow to see what he's coming, of course, he'll probably still want well, he was on the board several years, so he knows what
He
goes
knows the
on.
system.
Yeah.
Doug, the other thing, and maybe Tom, you can speak to this point, that excites me about going to a bank is it would reduce the time frame and legal fees exponentially, wouldn't it?
Yes, that is,
Certainly timeframes, yeah, there would be much less. I mean, I would want to take a look at this. You folks may know, but I have not done a private
So,
loan from a
if we did a
township,
private loan-
DLGF, and how they would.
we wouldn't have to do an official statement, which is the official offering document we have to put out in the market. No continuing disclosure requirements, which are on an annual basis. You have to report to the different bondholders, just the financial.
Oh, I like
information.
that.
Oh, yeah.
I like-
We don't have to do a rating, so it would bring down the cost of issuance, down considerably. Again, it just comes down to whether or not they would be
Go that
willing to
far.
do it for 15, 20 years.
And there's the obvious advantage you going bonding it.
Yes, exactly,
of the
and
term.
which is something that they would, we would have no problem finding a buyer to buy something that would go out 20 years.
Why don't we have Carl come to the board, too? I mean, if he's going to give you the information.
Well, and that's, at the next meeting is something else, because he will have the information. I don't think he's got all the information yet, but that's a good point, the fact that he would, when we have the next board meeting, then maybe he would have all that information.
Yeah.
And we can talk more in detail about it. Okay? Thank you.
Yeah, sure.
Thanks
And
very
I'll get
much.
back with you, we can do some sort of analysis that looks at, if we did 10 years, if we did 15 years, if we did 20 years, if we kept the tax rate currently at what it is right now, how much of a project fund would that,
Project
generate?
fund, and then how much we would have to subsidize. If we're looking at, let's, and I'm just throwing this out, if we're looking at $7 million total project cost, can you break it down, how much we'd have to subsidize to keep the tax rate? I think we're all in agreement, we're not raising the taxes.
Right.
We have
So-
cash.
That
By
was the
providing
premise
cash on
we
So how
had.
much
hand
cash
to buy down.
How much cash to buy down to not
Sure.
raise?
Yep,
And is that something you can email us so that we can review it before?
Yeah.
Here in the next, couple weeks, maybe?
yeah,
Is that-
yeah,
Okay.
sure.
Just email it to me and I'll
I'll
fire it out.
go through
Yeah.
Doug and he can
Perfect.
present it to you.
Great, thank you.
Sure.
Final information item is the State Board of Accounts audit, Doug?
Yeah, last Wednesday? No, it was a week ago Wednesday, wasn't it? Yeah, a week ago, yesterday was their last day of it. So it was Thursday, State Board of Accounts called me Tuesday. They came in Wednesday, Thursday, and last Monday, a week ago Monday, and did the audit 2.5 days. Of course, they don't tell you much when they're here, other than it went very well. And we should be getting Tammy Baker from State Board of Accounts is supposed to be coming out and doing our exit interview. And most likely, they'll want the president to be here too, so I will let you know when we do that exit interview. I'm hoping it's pretty quick, because Standards and Poor's is wanting our audits, and I mean, I can't work any faster than what they do, so we're just going to have to wait. So anyway, I just want to let you know that was, the main thing I put it in there for was because it was for 2011, 12, and 13. They are now doing 3-year audits. because they went from 300 auditors down to 200 auditors. So they're hitting more of the problem area, cities and towns, counties, whatever. So we're not a priority, and so they're doing ours now every 3 years, which is fine with me. But since we have that Central Park debt, they're all skaters and pours constantly. We need your audit, we need your audit, we need your audit. I understand that, but I can't work miracles. So if anybody asks from now on, we are audited every 3 years. I don't like that, but that's State Board of Accounts,
Okay.
okay?
Mark Westermeyer from the Parks Department, do you have anything you'd like to add tonight?
Certainly. Good evening.
Congratulations.
Thank you. A couple things that have been really great this year. I passed out our annual report. I think you'll be very happy to see that our cost recovery goals were met again last year. And this weekend started off hot and lots of people, so we're very happy about that. The climbing wall was a great success, and we have some blank panels up there, Mary, that could have your name on it for climbing the wall.
All right.
And I just think it would be
No,
perfect
it's
for
not
you
going to
to...
happen.
We did the wave.
Well,
surfing
yeah, I
there.
mean, you stood there right on the wave runner last year. I mean, surfing, so, climbing wall, I think, Mary, it'd be great. Anyway, in March of this year, we went through a visitation by an accreditation team from the Commission for Accreditation of Parks and Recreation Agencies. And I'm happy to report that we got a favorable recommendation from them. There's a hearing at the Parks and Recreation Congress in Charlotte this year. And I think, as long as I don't say anything stupid, during the hearing, we'll probably be accredited. Currently, there's only 116 agencies in the United States that have accreditation. So we're very happy that we're looking forward to that. Then, quite unexpectedly, last week I was notified that we were one of the 4 finalists for a gold medal award. And that's pretty much unheard of on a first application attempt. And our original intent was to put the application in and find out, what we did wrong, what we needed to do better. So we fully did not have any realization or expectation that we would be one of the finalists. It'd be great to win, but one of the agencies that we're up against is in Colorado, and they've been a finalist for the last 3 years. So there's a little bit of politics to that award, because unlike the accreditation, where it's really about process and how the departments run, this is more about a little bit of politics and what the community expectations are and the overall management. But we're very excited about that. Now, something very near and dear to you, Mary,
Yeah.
is we're finishing up the plans on the playground for Central Park.
All right. Good.
We're hoping to start construction yet this fall. It'll probably be a 2-year project, probably be actually more than that until it's completed in all the phases that it's going to take, because it's pretty elaborate. But we're looking forward to that. We had ribbon cutting today for Founders Park, a new pavilion, which was dedicated to the Wilfong family through Ralph L. Wilfong, who made a generous donation to get that park started. And you mentioned John Schuler. John had been very instrumental in having Martin Marietta give the land to the city, so that was very much appreciated as well. So that went very nice. Cookies were launched, and that was great. So I was real happy. Doug, you had cookies too?
No, I just had lemonade.
Lemonade. I got cookies. That was my lunch, and probably dinner too. So that part was great. Dog park. If you've been on 116th Street, you may notice it looks like a war zone, and that's because we cut down a lot of trees in preparation of getting the dog park going. Construction started about a week and a half ago, and it's going pretty well right now. We secured on Friday our last permit that we needed from the city so that we can get the house torn down. They were concerned that it was a historic building, but logic prevailed, and old buildings aren't necessarily historic buildings. So we're moving forward on that. So we're very happy with everything that's going on right now. We're going to have a committee of community people involved in figuring out the dog park this year, because the dog park's not large enough to serve the needs of the community. So there'll probably be some kind of priority system or lottery system put in place. And I can tell you right now that you'll probably get complaints and not everybody's going to be happy. But I feel that some of the priority needs to go to people that live within walking distance of the dog park, and then from there on, the number of other people that we can get in there. If we don't limit the number of dogs, then it'll become a disaster, and the grass won't, it'll just become a mud pit. And that's what happened down Broad Ripple when they let too many people in, dogs in. So what we want to do is carefully move forward, maybe not have as many as we could, but make sure everything's going right before we actually open it up and get overwhelmed. So,
Mark, is it safe for us to say, if asked, that this is a precursor, a test run for a larger dog park out?
yes, I think that's very true. In most of the public meetings, I told everyone Carmel needs 3 dog parks. Ideally, we need one, which we're building here in Central Park, to serve the center part of the city, one on the east and one on the west. Later this year, we're going to start the master plan for West Park. You may remember we bought another 45 acres there that are undeveloped, so we want to look at how that's going to be developed. I'm pretty sure part of that development will be a dog park, and we just got to figure out how it fits. There'll be a joint meeting coming up with City Council, which I'm sure you'll enjoy, the Park Board and yourselves, where we're going to walk through and discuss our 5-year master plan. We just finished, we're in the process of having that finished up. It'll be adopted by the Park Board, and then we'll schedule a meeting so everybody can walk through and understand what the community wants. There's already been quite a bit of discussion about that. There's some movement at City Council to change the way the paths are so that they're only on one side of the road instead of both sides. And the information we got that we finished up last March on the survey, and it was statistically significant that the number one thing that people wanted in Carmel were more trails. And that's true virtually in every city across America. So we'll have to wait and see how that goes. I think it's very important to keep that going. So that's pretty much the overview of where we've been this year and where we're going. And we have 4 people on staff, myself included, that are presenting at National this year. We had 3 last year. That's the most. 4 presentations by one department are the most that's allowed over the week period of time. So we got the maximum allocation to just sort of tell our story, and helps some other agencies around the country with some of the things we're doing. Lifeguards are really big and important to us with the water park, and Eric Mel, who was in charge of our lifeguards last year, had developed a retention system, and the retention system has pretty much national recognition now because we had 97% retention of lifeguards from last year to this year, and that's pretty much unheard of within the industry. And it's all about recognition and patches and getting additional education. And we took that program because it worked so well. I actually installed it last year, but it worked so well, we have rolled that program into the Monon Community Center and our ESE program as well. So it's been a great program. We're looking forward to really getting that thing working just perfectly. I had a meeting earlier today, which Doug heard, had a group come over from Hamilton County, Ohio, who wanted to visit and talk about trails and our cost recovery efforts. It's pretty unheard of. When I talked to them, they told me that they get less than 20% cost recovery on their budget, and we're at 85% as a system-wide. So we're getting a lot of recognition nationally, wanting to know, how do you do that? And most people try and make it harder than it is. I said it's every day. It's a team effort of our elected officials, the park board members, and our staff working together with the community to offer really viable and good programs that people are willing to pay for. So it's great to be getting that kind of recognition. They're the second group from parks that have been to visit us this year just to find out how we operate, which is a turnaround from us going out to other departments figuring out how it was a few years ago. So with that, be more than happy to answer any questions. Or Mary, I have the keys to the water park, and after the meeting, we can go over there and you can try the wall.
Thank you very much. That's very kind. And I hope you'll send someone else in my place.
Matt.
Next time.
Okay.
Thank
Paul,
you.
that leaves you.
I'll do it,
Good.
but not tonight.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Mark, before you sit down, I have to tell you that you have some of the best staff that I've ever seen. I want to tell you, you guys are doing amazing things with those parks, and you don't give yourself enough credit. And I think you, from my standpoint, the job that you guys do out there. I mean, that Founders Park is super nice. I mean, you turn around, you have 12 parks in Clay Township, and if you turn around and make Founders Park, make the rest of them like Founders Park, I mean, you can walk to every park. You could be able to walk, everybody would have a park where they could walk to. And I was just really amazed at what I seen today. And I thank you for the job you and your staff and the board on what they do there.
Thank you, Doug.
There is one question I do have about the aquatic center. Is the lazy river operational this year?
Yes.
Okay, because there was a rumor going around that there was not going to be a lazy river this year, and I thought, why? A lot of people go to that just for the lazy river. So
No, the lazy river is probably the most popular thing we do because it's multi-generational. What we did do this year, and we started working on it last year, is in front we have a sign that shows if there's any features that are closed. And if we don't have a lot of attendance, then we'll close down a feature
Gotcha.
that's not being used.
Gotcha.
And there was a little pushback from some park board members about having that, and they thought every feature should be. But you can't maintain cost recovery
Okay.
and have an area fully staffed if you only have 65 people in the park. There's a point in time where lifeguards outnumber the people, and it really needs, you either need to close down features
Sure.
or just close down the park.
Thank you.
So that was some of the misinformation, I think, that's been out there from the discussion. And features do break. So I know yesterday, the flow rider went down for about an hour or so, so we went out and moved the sign and said, it's not working right now. And what we don't want is people to come into the park assuming that something's working, so before they ever pay the money, they can look and say, oh, well, this feature's not working. And they can ask, is it going to be working? Is it down? Because it's pretty, some of the equipment out there is pretty high-tech, and if it breaks, it's hard to get it back in operation on a weekend.
Hey, on that dog park,
Mhm.
you could put AstroTurf down, then you can just wash it down every day. I'm only kidding.
Doug, it might be funny, but it's not, because we had the discussion, and the reason that we can't do that is because of the way the water needs to work. By using natural turf, and we have irrigation in there so we can flush it,
Yeah.
which serves the same purpose, but that whole area sheets water, and it's part of the hydraulics of the entire surface. The dog park opening as it is only two-thirds built out. There's another third that once we figure out where to put our maintenance office, it goes away, and then we can expand the dog park by another third. And that's going to be at some point in time in the future.
When's that supposed to be done in that?
The dog park? Will be done probably midsummer. The problem is we can't open until the grass is rooted in really firmly and can take
Right.
the traffic of the dogs. We think the irrigation's going to help us, but it's 100% weather dependent. So we'll have a better feel once we know what the roots are doing, probably later this year. I would say we'll make the call in September as to whether we're going to be an October opening or have to delay it to the first of the year.
Thank you.
May I make a comment?
Yes, ma'am.
I have been on the board now quite a while and have seen no parks become something wonderful like it is today. I remember when people came in and this whole room was filled with, calling for our resignation because they thought we'd vote against the land, and nobody had a plan. And the only reason I ever objected in the beginning was there was no plan. Let's buy the land, but there's no plan. And that has changed considerably. Your leadership has been wonderful. The parks are great. The kids, honest to gosh, you go over to the Central Park area now with the playground, it is just going to be fantastic. So from my standpoint, I'd like to say thank you very much. It really is an asset to the community.
Thank you, Mary.
Mark, thank you for being here. Well done as always. Financial questions from the board. Anybody have any questions for Doug?
No.
Board comments. Mary?
Well, I'd like to thank you all for being here today. It's nice to see an audience and to have the information that you're bringing to the board. And I'd like to thank you, Doug. I know on a daily basis, things get a little trial every once in a while. And you have a great staff, and we're very pleased with that. Thank you. I have one other thing that I wanted to ask. You and I had a conversation about this. There was an article recently in the newspaper. I think it was the Current. I'm not sure, but it was one of the newspapers. It had to do. No, it wasn't. It was in the morning paper about the children who were in a school, and there were end-of-the-year monies that were necessary that hadn't been paid for lunches. And the staff in the school decided that since they hadn't paid those fees, probably didn't have the money, that they couldn't have the meals. And so for lunch, when they came in and picked up a tray and put food on it, there was a member of the staff who took the tray away from them and threw the food out right in front of them. So I guess Doug and I were talking. In my life, I have wonderful grandchildren, and I certainly loved my own children, but there's some children that just don't have that kind of attention. And I think that if the township board can ever do anything to make sure something like that doesn't happen in our community, certainly is something I think we need to look into to see in several of the schools if there are any end-of-the-year problems with the fees that are due, that the township board has some extra funds that we could step up and look into. So I'd like to just present that to you all. Doug and I have talked about it, and I think we're going to do a little bit of looking for it.
Matt? I have no comments. Any announcements, Doug?
A couple things, yes. The Carmel Clay Public Library placed the box out there, take a book, leave a book program.
Bravo.
And Wendy, you need to say anything about that?
Come to the microphone, please.
Yes, I'd like to thank you for allowing us to do that. And if you haven't taken a look, I actually brought some more books to put in to fill it up again. And we have two others, and thanks to Mark Westermeyer for allowing us to put them in West Park and Founders Park. And they're being used. I visited all three of them yesterday. And we're just really excited about that and hope to have more in the community. So if you don't know what a Little Free Library is, check outside when you leave, and you're free to take a book, leave a book, bring another book back. We noticed some, had not put them in originally, so it's working. People are taking books out and putting books in. So it's completely free and self-monitoring, but we visit them at least once a week to make sure they're full. So
I think
thank
it's
you.
wonderful. Thank you.
And the last thing is, you all three got your book on the World War II museums.
Terrific.
And our little military museum just to the north of us is in this book. So, hey, they're hearing about us across the world now. So,
Well, explain what the title is.
do what?
Say what the title is so people.
It's called World War II Museums, Memories, or Memorials and Historic Displays in the United States. So anybody wants to look at it, they're welcome to come up here. And the veterans over here have extra books too you can have. So they come out every so often. So
Anything else?
that's it, sir.
May I have a motion for adjournment?
I so move.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.